Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another repair video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this PlayStation 4 Slim which has been sent in. This particular console's got an issue with the Blu-ray drive where there's no power getting to it and it can't take in or eject a disc. So this is a fairly common issue on this particular model, and typically it's related to the disc drive fuse, the motor controller fuse just randomly blowing. That is marked as F6202 on the motherboard. And like I said, it's a very common issue, and for some reason the fuses on these things just randomly blow for no reason. So typically what we do is just take it apart, check the fuse. If the fuse is bad, just replace it. We wouldn't do anything else like trying to find out why it had happened, because unlike most of the fuses, these just blow for no reason. They just die for no reason whatsoever, and there's no explanation for it. I don't think anyone's ever come up with a plausible explanation for it as far as I'm aware. But this is a very common issue. A couple of months ago I think I saw around about 13 2 weeks, which was absolutely incredible. I haven't seen so many of them lately, but I'm starting to see a couple more now. I've got a couple in the queue now, so I thought I'd do another video on one of them just to get a refresher out there for 2021. I don't think I've done one this year, to be honest, on video. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little video on it just to get a little bit of a refresher out there and get some content made while I'm at it. So let's turn it on first of all. Let's make sure that everything else works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the power cable and a HDMI cable just to turn it on, if I can ever untangle the things. I'm going to be using the TV next to me to test it, because I've found out today that and I was actually filming a video when I found out, so that video will be out pretty soon. But I found out today that using my HDMI splitter, so basically I've got when the HDMI comes from the console, it goes into my splitter, and then from my splitter it goes to my HDMI switch, and then that goes to my HDMI capture card, but it also goes to the TV, so it splits off. So basically I can see it there, you guys can see it on the screen, and everyone's happy. Except I found out today that when I do it that way, and when I show it on the capture card, even if there's a fault with the HDMI encoder, it still shows up on the capture card. And when it's on the splitter, it still shows up on the TV. But then as soon as I take it off the splitter, connect it straight up to the TV, it doesn't display. So first of all, I'm going to test it there on that, and then when I do the final test afterwards, I'll test it on the capture card. As long as I know the HDMI encoder works, I'm happy with it. So let's try and turn it on, and it does turn on. So straight away then what I'm going to do is just grab a test disc. It doesn't matter what disc I use, I'm just going to grab the nearest disc to me, and ironically that's an Xbox disc. I just want to see if it's actually going to take a disc in, and it doesn't. Okay, so let me switch to the other camera so you guys can see. That has switched on the TV. So yeah, that's checking that, but if we switch to here, you'll see that when I offer up a disc, nothing at all happens. So that kind of sucks, but there is a very simple fix for this particular issue. So I'm going to wait for that to finish booting up, because I don't want to shut it down while it's doing its checks. So I'll wait for that to continue booting up. It shouldn't take too long, and then I'll resume the video once I've shut it down properly. So let's get this apart then, and we'll do some tests. I'll show you how to test that fuse, and obviously if it is that fuse then we'll just replace it. If it's not, then we'll try and figure out what it is. So switching over to the overhead camera, let's just start to disassemble it. So while I do have your attention, if you are new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe. It is completely free to do, and it helps out the channel a bunch. So yeah, let's get this console disassembled then. This has definitely been disassembled before. That's too loose for it to not be. That's fine, as long as no one's done any damage to it. I'm happy with that. I don't mind working on them if someone else has worked on them, as long as I haven't completely messed it up. So that's absolutely fine by me. Switch to the T9 because I'm a douche and I keep forgetting that I've got to take this one out as well. So I've got to switch to the T9 just to take one screw and then back to the Phillips. I should have probably done that first. Never mind. Let's take that off. Back to the Phillips, and you'll have to excuse the green stuff on my hand. There's conformal coating somewhere and I keep touching it and I don't know where it is. So I've washed my hands about 15 times today because I keep getting I mean, this is the third video I'm filming today, and basically the green stuff keeps appearing. I don't know where it's coming from. I really don't know where it comes from. It's on the table or something somewhere. It's conformal coating, which is what we use to cover up exposed traces on motherboards or on any kind of circuit board. What I'm going to do then, I'm going to get this apart. I'll fast forward through this because unscrewing screws is quite boring for most people, but I'll leave it in there, but just fast forward it. So just slow it down if you do actually need to see the disassembly, but I won't be talking during that time either. It makes the videos a little bit too long, to be honest. So the disassembly and reassembly, there's plenty of teardown guides online where you can find out exactly how to open your specific console, and the people that have done the teardown videos have done very good jobs of explaining it. So I don't feel it's necessary to put the teardown videos in, teardown of the console in these videos anymore. So I'll skip through this bit and I'll resume when I'm finished. Okay, so here we are then. The motherboard is out and very, very dusty, so I'm going to need to give that a brush down, and the rest of the console will get serviced a little later on. There we go. So just give it a brush down, get rid of that dust off the motherboard itself, and then I can start testing. So what I'm going to do first, because it's got to be replaced anyway, is I'm going to just get rid of the thermal paste, rather than getting it all over the place, getting it all over my hands and things. And it looks like someone's been in this machine and not changed that, because that looks like factory thermal paste. So how that's not overheating, I will never know. That is actually one theory that I do have about these consoles, in that the fuse dies when it overheats. That's one possibility, but yeah, I mean, it's just a theory, so that's just my own opinion. Right, so I'll switch over to the microscope then, and then I'll show you where these fuses are and how we can test them. Alright, so if we take a look on the far left hand side, we've got a big chip just over here. This is called the Renesas IC. This chip is basically responsible for the disk drive. If this chip dies, then we are in trouble. But it's never usually that chip, or at least in this instance it's not. What it usually is just above this chip, there's a couple of fuses. So we can see we've got marked F6001 and F6002. And they are both fuses for the disk drive. And is that a scratch IC? I think someone's been messing. I think someone has been messing. There is a light scratch, so someone's definitely been around this area, so kind of odd. Let's have a look. Kind of strange if they've been in that area that they haven't replaced the fuse. I mean, it might not be the fuse, I don't know. It could be something completely different, and if it is, then yeah, it's we're probably in a world of trouble if it is. Right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to switch the multimeter over to continuity mode. So that's the mode that's going to beep when we complete the circuit. And if you know anything about fuses, if you know anything about fuses at all, you'll know that we need continuity between both ends of the fuse. And that is basically the gist of it. So we need to check from this side to this side on F6202. And we don't have continuity. So what I mean by continuity is basically, for example, if I test from there to there, we've got continuity, same as there to there. But we should also have continuity from here to here and from here to here, because this circuit needs to work. So this fuse is definitely bad, 100% bad. And what I don't understand is why someone hasn't already replaced that fuse, considering they've been in the area. Someone has definitely been in that area because it's been probed. Someone has been messing with it. So it strikes it a little bit odd to me. Maybe they've changed the fuse and it's blown again, but I can't see any evidence of that. So I'm going to get that fuse removed, and I'll take one from a donor board to replace it with. So I'll just use a bit of hot air. I'm using 460 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow. I'm just about ready to remove. Come on. There we go. Okay, so that fuse is gone. So what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of flux to the area, just to these pads, just a tiny bit. Really don't need much here. Why make a mess when we don't need to? And now I'm going to replace the solder that's there with some fresh leaded solder. So I'm not going to wick away. All I'm going to do is just run the soldering iron over the top of it. Just replace that solder just to freshen the pads up and lower the melting temperature that we're going to need to replace the fuse. And I'm going to take the donor fuse from a PS4 Pro. So if we take a look just over here on the PS4 Pro, we can see we have F6202, which is the exact same fuse as for the PS4 Slim. So what I'm going to do first is just test the fuse and just make 100% sure that it works. And it does. As you can see, we've got continuity from this point to this point. So that fuse is good. And that fuse is good. So I'm going to take the exact fuse that I need, which is F6202. I do have the ratings written down somewhere for these. I will write it down on the screen down below, just to let you know the ratings of them, because I realise that most people who are watching these videos are probably not going to have any kind of donor boards lying around where they can just pull the fuse from. So I do realise that, so I will include the rating for the fuse so you can source your own parts. There's the donor fuse there. I do know that these are 0402 in size. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in because, like I said, these are 0402s, so they're fairly small. Just going to drop that down there, and I'm going to reinstall it exactly the same way as I removed it. And there we go. And that fuse is installed. As simple as that. Before I finish, I'm just going to give it a good clean. Make sure I get rid of that excess flux residue. Not just from there, but where it's blown as well, so just over here. So I'm just using isopropyl alcohol and a cotton swab to clean the area. The reason I clean the flux off is because the flux that I use, Kingbo RMA218, is not no clean flux, so you do have to clean it off the board before you can finish the job. Well, at some point you need to clean it off the board. So basically, if you leave it on the board over the space of about 12 months, it will probably corrode the board, and we obviously don't want that. So we just clean it off with some isopropyl alcohol, 99.9% pure, and that takes care of it. There we go, and it's almost like no one's ever been there. Okay, we are done. Or at least we should be done. So I'll move the microscope out of the way. I'm going to pop the board to one side for a minute as well, because now we need to take care of the console. One rule that I have is I will never put a console back together unless I've cleaned it, unless I can't fix it. If I can't fix it, then there's no point, but if I can fix it, I won't put it back together until I've cleaned it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a good clean. I'm going to brush out all of the dust, and then I'll get back to the video once that's done. Okay, so console is back together. Well, the parts are back together just for cleaning. So I've cleaned out the heatsink, got rid of all of the dust, and now it's time to put the console itself back together. So just apply a little bit of thermal paste there. That is obviously the perfect amount. And let's just get that in there. Let's connect that up. And what I'm going to do is... Oh, hang on a minute. I almost missed something. Nearly missed something there. And I realised at the last second I would have had to take it all back apart. So these power ICs need thermal pads, and while I was cleaning the case, they came off. As they always do, I would have had to take them all back apart again to do that, because it would have caused overheating issues on those ICs. Okay, there's the fan. So I won't put this back together fully, just enough to be able to test. Well, actually, you know, I'm kind of confident that this is going to work, so I'm going to put it back together fully. Famous last words. Famous last words. What's happened to my camera? Why has it gone onto that one? Right, well, never mind. I think I hit the mouse. Right, okay, that threw me off a little bit there, but never mind. It's fine. Okay, so I'm going to put this back together then. Make sure that these thermal pads go in place, because otherwise we are going to have damaged RAM. Not in the sense of overheating either. The tiny little nipples on these, whatever they're called, the punch outs, they end up impacting the RAM and causing a problem with the RAM. So make sure that those thermal pads all go back on. Many times I've seen a thermal pad torn and the RAM itself being damaged and having to be replaced. So just make sure you put them back, because they are absolutely required. Not just for cooling, but for protection as well. Okay, so I'm going to reroute these again. There we go. And get it back together. Right, okay, so just a couple more screws to put in now, and then we are done. So, whoops, let's not forget the Wi-Fi antenna. Whoopsie. There we go. Pop that in there. And now we can switch to the T9. So I am pretty confident that this is going to work, although sometimes this does come back and bite me in the butt if it's a completely different issue. So yeah, taking a bit of a risk here on time, but never mind. It's worth the risk, because at least now if it does work, which it usually is just the fuse. Obviously that fuse was bad, and if it is just the fuse, then it means I haven't got to do anything else. I can just test and finish. Right, so just pop the top on. No leftover screws, just the way it should be. Hard drive cover, and let's test. Right, so now we should have power to the disk drive. The keyword there, of course, being should, but let's check it anyway. So I'm going to find an actual PS4 disc now, because we want to be able to read the disc. Okay, and FIFA 15 will do just nicely. So I'm going to turn on the TV, and yep, we get display, and we take a disc. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Right, okay, so let's just give it a quick test. So now that I know that the display is working, what I'm going to do is switch over to the capture card, so as you guys can see. Okay, and there we go. So now I can see it on my screen, and you can see it on your screen. So we've got the console on, and I just need to synchronize the controller so as I can run through some tests, make sure that everything works, and then we should be good. So controller works, fantastic. And as you can see there, we have FIFA 15 in the disc. So that is it. Yeah, the console is fully working, and the disc drive is working as expected. Right, so that's going to be it for this video. So just to summarise on this one then, so this console was sent in because it had an issue with the disc drive where it wasn't accepting or rejecting a disc. Let's just confirm and make sure that the disc ejects properly, which it should. There shouldn't be an issue. As you can see, it's on this screen here. Yes, I know this screen is broken. Please don't mention it. It was bought broken for the specific reason of testing consoles. Why buy a working TV when I can get by just fine with that? But yeah, by taking a look at the disc drive and looking at the most common failure point for the disc drive on these consoles, i.e. F6202, which is the motor controller for the insert and eject, or it might be a sensor fuse, I'm not sure, but either way, all I know is that it controls ejecting and inserting the discs. But by testing that using continuity mode on the multimeter, that's the mode that goes beep when we touch the probes together, and by testing the fuse on the multimeter, I was able to determine straight away that that was indeed the issue. Now, like I said, they literally just die for no reason as far as I can tell. One theory of mine is heat, and that would kind of be in line with this one, but considering it was a little bit dusty to say the least. But it could be the fact that it's overheated, and that component is probably the weakest part of the system. Now, if you're wondering why, or if you think that sounds a little bit strange, you've got to remember that no matter what it is, everything has an upper temperature limit. So what that means is that components, specifically on motherboards, generally have an upper temperature limit of around about 105 degrees Celsius. And if the temperature limit reaches that, then it will start to fail, or it will start to degrade, which is why when your console gets to 100 degrees Celsius, it will shut down, because it's designed that way to actually prevent it from damaging the system. But if the temperature sensors on the console, for whatever reason, are a couple of degrees off, or for example, if the component itself is degraded anyway because of age, I mean, these are a fair few years old now, but if any of them reasons, or if it's weak for any reason, overheating it just a little bit can cause that issue. Obviously, when we've got overheating on the console, that builds up heat inside the machine itself, and that can cause the fuse to blow. That's my theory. That's one theory, and it's the same with the HDMI encoders. That's the theory on why some of those die. But I can't be 100% sure on that. That's just one thing that I think might be a scenario where these fuses die. But other than that, I don't have an explanation for it. But as you've seen, it's that simple. And these discs, I mean, you can see that these will work perfectly fine now. And I don't think I've ever had a warranty return on these consoles when I've changed the fuse. And this is taking a disc, it's ejecting a disc, absolutely fine. Smooth as a baby's bum. Absolutely beautiful. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. I will always do my best to answer them. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by, number one, subscribing if you're brand new here, or if you are just not subscribed yet. Turns out around about 75% of viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So if you could hit subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic. But if you do want to support the channel, you can become a channel member for as little as £1.99 per month. You can become a patron on patreon.com. There's a link in the video description to that. Or you can just buy something on Amazon using the affiliate links in the description. If you don't want to pledge any money, buying something on Amazon using my affiliate links always helps me out. There's also a link to Virgin Media, where we would both get £50 off, or £50 bonus if you sign up through my referral link. So there's plenty of ways that you could support me if you do enjoy the content. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.